Hi friends, Sarah here from Books for Curious Kids. Today we're going to talk about two books that I love. The first one is called Love That Dog by Sharon Creech. She is a Newbery Medal winner, and this book was written 20 some years ago, 2001 I think, and it is phenomenal, an absolute gem. It's just little. It's kind of a beginner, early middle grade. If you're not familiar with verse novels, they are so beautiful. They have very little text on the page compared to regular prose novels, but it's very easy to understand and read, and they are still a narrative. They tell the story. And so this is a great one to introduce your child to verse novels with. One of my favorites is so clever, and it's about this little boy that lost his dog, and he's in a poetry unit in his classroom, and the teacher is making them write in their journals, write poetry. And so all we get is his words, his reactions to what she's saying. We don't ever hear her words unless he repeats them. And so there's a lot of subtext going on and gaps for the reader to fill in. It's very engaging for the reader, but easy to understand, so they don't even realize. He also is reacting to poems, traditional poems that are shared in the classroom, and they're provided in the end. There's a shape poem, The Apple by S.C. Rigg, Pasture, Robert Frost, Dog, Valerie Worth, The Tiger, William Blake, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. And on page 6, the boy reacts to that poem. He says, "What was up with the Snowy Woods poem you read today? Why doesn't the person just keep going if he's got so many miles to go before he sleeps? And why do I have to tell more about the blue car splattered with mud speeding down the road? I don't want to write about that blue car that had miles to go before it slept, so many miles to go in such a hurry." And so it's a beautiful book. It has a bit of an arc as he learns to express himself in poetry through the diary, and he at the same time is able to come to terms with his grief for his dog and by expressing himself through the poetry. And just tons of voice, really fun. I paired this with House Arrest by K.A. Holt to share with you because they both start the same, with a reluctant boy not wanting to write poetry, not wanting to write in a journal. This one starts, "Boys don't write in journals unless it's court ordered. At least this is what I've figured. I have nothing to say." So you can see there. And then another break. "I'm not allowed to have nothing to say, except on Tuesdays." And then he goes in. So this is a story about a boy who has a baby brother named Levi that is really sick, and his family is really poor, and he is trying to help his struggling family, but he makes a bad choice and steals a credit card and charges Levi's medicine on it, and of course gets caught. And so he is on probation and has to go see a therapist or a counselor and has to report to a probation officer. And you hear about it all through this journal that he is forced to write. And it's really beautiful as well. Carries an emotional punch. This one's a little thicker, maybe a slightly older audience than Love That Dog, but still a good fit for middle grade, upper middle grade. And one of the things I really love about it is how sensitively it handles his dealings with the poverty that their family is experiencing. In quotes, it says, "You look cold. Duh, Mrs. B, it's winter time. So he's talking to his counselor, and he writes down her words. Where's your coat? Duh, Mrs. B, my arms have grown 3 sizes since last winter. Do you need a coat? Duh, Mrs. B, but you think I'm going to ask for one? You should take care of yourself. You don't want to get sick. Duh, Mrs. B, who wants to get sick? Have you had a flu shot? Duh, Mrs. B, who's going to pay for it? You should think about getting one. Duh, Mrs. B, I think about a lot of things I can't do. Timothy, are you listening to me? Duh, Mrs. B, are you listening to you? So you get, in italics, you get the counselor's words and then Timothy's interior thoughts, and how he's struggling to be able to express his needs. And it's handled so well. I heard through the grapevine that they're going to make it into a graphic novel. This came out like 10 or 11 years ago. Both of these books, I think, are designed to lure in the boy reader into verse novels and show them that poetry isn't so scary. But girls obviously enjoy them as well too. So they're great reads, and I hope you enjoy. Bye-bye.